Hi, today I want to show you two palettes from BareMinerals. This is what they look like. The Finer Things and the Star Treatment. Maybe you remember the palettes from last year that were gold. This year's are silver. And I loved last year's, and I actually like this year's even better. I think they're both excellent quality, but it's just I like the colors and the finishes of these better. You know, everybody has their preferences, and I just happen to like these types of finishes better and these colors. But I'm going to go ahead and swatch them for you first thing, and then I'm going to kind of talk about it more in depth if you don't already have BareMinerals pressed eyeshadows or ready eyeshadows and you want to hear more about them. I'm going to tell you more about them and kind of my opinion of them and all that stuff. But I do really love them in summary. And I'm going to try and compare some similar colors for you. I really don't think that any of them are too similar at all, but I'm going to compare to last year's palettes as well in case, you know, you're concerned about overlap there. And I'm also going to post below a link to my blog where I will post photographs of these, of all the swatches as well, in case you want to see what they look like in pictures, because sometimes they can look different in pictures and in video. So without further ado, let me show you the Finer Things first, because that is what I'm wearing today on my eyes for this look. So this is what they look like in the palette, and the way I'm going to swatch them is going to be starting with this black, going across this way, and then this way. And then here are the names of all of them. So here are the swatches, and I'm going to kind of zoom in and talk about each color. So this black is a matte black base, and then as you can see, as I move my arm there, there's all this shimmer, and this is actually almost mirror-like shimmers. I've seen eyeshadows, you know, with silver shimmers in them before, but these are like extra shiny. Then you have this beautiful pink shade, and it's a warm pink, almost like a peachy pink, and it has a pearly frosty finish. Then you have this gray, which is almost matte, but it has just a little bit of a sheen to it, and it's actually really nice because it doesn't look flat or chalky, but there's definitely no shimmer, and it's not enough to call it, you know, frosty or pearly. It's definitely really close to matte. Probably the type of finish people tend to refer to as like suede. And then you have this bronze color. This is the warmest color in this entire palette. This is kind of like the cool palette. Most of the shades in here are very cool. And then you have, oh, I'm sorry, and that's a frosty pearly finish. And then you have this beautiful taupe, which is also a frosty finish, and it's a fairly light color. And that pink, by the way, is what I have all over my eyelid. And then in the crease and the outer corner is this next kind of a muted plum color. That's what I have on for my look. And this is a beautiful kind of a brownish muted plum, also with a frosty finish. This is my favorite finish, so you can see why I love these palettes so much. And then I have this in my inner corner today of my eyes and underneath my brow as a highlight. This is another one of those suede finishes. It's so nice. It's a beautiful white that is not at all powdery or chalky or flat looking. It has just the tiniest bit of sheen to make it just a little bit, you know, not quite matte, but very close to matte. And then you have this navy blue color, and it kind of looks matte at first, but then I'm not sure. I'm going to try and show you. It has tiny shimmers that maybe right here you can kind of see them reflecting light a little bit, but it's not shimmery at all, and it's not even frosty, but it's just kind of like a matte base with very, very fine shimmer, just a little bit of very fine shimmer in there. And that's a really beautiful color. So that was the Finer Things palette. So here is the Star Treatment palette. And again, I'm going to swatch starting with this black, going across top row, and then going across the bottom row. That's the order. And on the back, you have all the names of these. So here's what all of the swatches look like. And I'm just going to show you each one up close. So for the darkest shade, you have a matte black, and it has been warmed up with some gold and copper shimmer. The shimmer in here is finer than in that other matte black in the Finer Things palette. Then you have a copper, and it's kind of a blackened copper. Or bronze, blackened bronze. And then, I'm sorry, that's a frosty finish. And then you have this really beautiful shade which looks white in the palette, but then you can see it swatched. It has all this gold kind of shimmer iridescence, and it's really pretty. It's pearly. And then next you have a pearly frosty finish chocolate brown, kind of a cooler toned brown. And then this is one of the most beautiful shades here. It is a taupe, and it has a green iridescence to it, and almost like a hint of pink at certain angles. You can see it is so pretty and unique. And that's one thing I like about this year's palette as well. Specifically this palette, it's got those two kind of iridescent color changing shades, that white that looks gold, and then this one that has the green iridescence, because I really like unique shades like that. And then you have what I would describe as a rose gold, and it has a frosty pearly finish. And then you have a kind of a brownish taupe. It is lighter than that chocolate brown. As you can see, it's a lot lighter. And you have a gold, and this is kind of a yellow gold it has. Sometimes golds can be a little bit bronzy, a little bit darker, so this is kind of a lighter gold that has, you know, some obvious yellow to it. And again, frosty pearly. And then here again are all the shades zoomed out. And one other quick swatch I wanted to show you is actually a combination of two of the colors, one from each palette. The navy blue is called Private Isle from the Finer Things palette. And then this is that it looks white, but then when you apply it, it has a gold iridescence to it from the Star Treatment called Carte Blanche, or I'm not sure how to pronounce that second word, but I think that gold really pops on that navy blue background. It almost looks a little bit of green because, you know, yellow and blue make green, and it looks so pretty. So I just wanted to show you that combination in case you do have both palettes. It's just something to try. Alright, so now that you saw the swatches, let me tell you a little bit about what I think of these. I think that they are the most excellent eyeshadows that I have tried in pressed version, and I do prefer natural without talc, which is very hard to find. Even companies that like Korres and Tarte will have some products with talc and some eyeshadows with talc, even though they're kind of more of a natural brand. So these are really excellent. You don't have to worry about talc being in them. and of course parabens, and just really any kind of chemical ingredients. These have a really good ingredient list, so you can, you know, feel comfortable and safe about that if that's something that concerns you, of course. But even if you're not into natural, I think that even compared to non-natural eyeshadows, these are really, really good quality. I've, you know, swatched a lot of different eyeshadows in Sephora, and these are the most buttery, creamy, soft, glide right onto your skin, you know, really pigmented. And one nice thing is you don't have to worry about them being like hit or miss in the palettes. A lot of times when I look at palettes, and this is usually true for larger palettes, these are kind of small, but you'll have some shades that are just, you know, not so great, maybe some average shades, and then some really great shades. But in these, they're all really, really good. There's none of them are chalky or powdery or sheer. Granted, there's only 8, but really somebody looked at those 8 before putting them in there and made sure that no, you know, nothing below excellent kind of snuck in there. Like I said, there's a matte black with shimmer in each palette. That personally is my least favorite type of finish, just because I don't like shimmer that large in my eyeshadows. I find that there's fallout usually anytime there's shimmer that large. And I just prefer kind of a pearly frosty finish. However, there's only one in each palette, so you know, there's people that like that sort of finish, so at least they get one and I get, you know, 7 other ones that I like the finish of, so I'm not worried about that at all. And if you use some kind of, you know, tacky sticky base, then you probably won't get fallout with the shimmer. Probably I would use maybe as eyeliner those shades, that way you can really like stick them on. Maybe even apply them wet to have that shimmer adhere more to your eye and not fall out. But of course you can use it as whatever, as a crease color and everything as well. I haven't tried it. I'm not saying that these do generate a lot of fallout, just in my experience, anytime there's kind of larger pieces of shimmer, you always get at least a couple of stray ones like over here. But really excellent quality, excellent finish on all of these. If you are like me and you like that kind of frosty, pearly shine to your eyeshadows, and these are, you know, exactly that. If you like matte, then the Finer Things has 2 matte shades, but they are kind of like a suede finish where they have, you know, a little bit of a sheen. I think that makes it a lot easier to wear mattes. I don't wear mattes a lot, and I actually don't even have, I think I have like less than 5 mattes in my collection. That's how sad it is. Because mattes tend to look kind of chalky and flat on me, but these are not like that at all. They're like creamy mattes, and that just a little bit of a sheen makes them so much more wearable, I think, especially if you've never worn mattes, or, you know, you tend to not like the way mattes look on you. These are like the most wearable matte finish, or suede finish, I guess. So I really love these palettes in conclusion. And now I'm going to compare some of the shades for you across all 4 palettes, last year's and this year's, so you can see, you know, how similar or not similar some of these shades are that may look at first glance like maybe they're a little bit too close. So here are all the palettes. And first I have the Finer Things, which is kind of the cooler palette from this year, and the Cocktail Hour, which is the cooler tone palette from last year. And then the Playlist, last year's warmer toned palette, and the Start Treatment. And the colors that I'm going to swatch together for you first is this white color, matte white, 5-star. And then this is a pink, so that's not going to be similar at all. But from this palette, I'm going to swatch for you One Hit Wonder, just kind of an off-white. And then from this palette, I'm going to swatch for you Carte Blanche, which looks white, but that's the one I showed you before that is more of a gold. So first you have 5 Star, then you have One Hit Wonder, and then Carte Blanche is obviously quite different. It's a iridescent gold. So the first two are the most similar, and you can see that One Hit Wonder is a little bit warmer. It's a little bit more of an ivory, while 5 Star is more of a white. And 5 Star is that suede, nearly matte finish, whereas One Hit Wonder, it kind of has a base of that, but then it does have some shimmer. Hopefully you'll be able to see it. There's just like a little bit of kind of larger shimmer particles just like scattered throughout it. So they are similar, but I wouldn't necessarily call them dupes for each other. Next I'm going to show you kind of the lighter taupe brown shade. And they are First Class, Invite Only, and then Kudos and Elitist from this palette. So as you can see, they're actually all quite different, although they do have a similar, almost the same finish. The first one's probably the most true taupe, and then the second one has some purple in it. It's very cool. And then that third one's a lot warmer, kind of like a beige. There's a little bit of, you know, golden tones to it. Then of course that morphing color that has the green iridescent, and this one is the darkest and the most true brown. Next I'm going to compare for you the bronzy and the kind of like reddish shades. And they are Truffle, Spiked. From the playlist palette, I'm going to swatch Louder, and I am going to go ahead and swatch Pumped, even though it's kind of different, but this is matte with shimmer. It's a very different finish, but I'll just swatch that for you for comparison. And from the Star Treatment, I'm going to swatch Connoisseur, Bragging Rights, and Ritzy. So here are all the shades. So you can see they're all different. None of them are close enough to be dupes for each other. You do have, you know, some similarities obviously, but I think they're definitely all different enough. So now I'm going to swatch for you Custom Made from the Finer Things palette and Libation from the Cocktail Hour palette, just to compare those two pinks. And then to compare the two golds, I'm going to swatch Remix from the Playlist palette and Extravagance from the Star Treatment palette. So here they are. The first pink you can see is more pink to it. The second one is more of a cool pink, and there's less of a pinkness to it. And also the second pink has some fine shimmer, which I don't know how well you can see. They both are frosty, but the second one is like a frosty base with some finer shimmer scattered through, whereas the first one does not have any larger size shimmer. It's just frosty pearly, and that's it. And then the golds, similar finish, but the first gold is obviously quite a bit darker, has like a little bit of a bronze to it, and the second one is more yellow and lighter, of course.